I spy with my one scary glowing eye. Here's your look at the new 52 Toys Hexanoid Omax figure. "52 Toys presents the Figurite line of 3.7-inch scale figures. Hexanoid Omax is here. The figure features a black, purple, and blue color scheme and comes with a blaster and 2 pairs of alternate hands. Thanks to the folks over at 52 Toys, we're going to be looking at the next Hexanoid figure in Omax. Now, both the figures are coming out actually the 4th quarter of 2022, so this is an early sample copy that the company was nice enough to send my way. Grabbing the tape measure just to see how tall the figure stands. It's going to be about the same, if not just a little bit taller, just because of the size of the head here. The figure's actually, it's about still 3 3/4 of an inch, but maybe just a hair bit taller. We'll do more comparisons in a second. And that works out to be a figure that's about, again, 18 centimeters in height. Speaking of that other figure, here's what Omax looks like next to Eunice. And it may seem to be the case that they are probably the same height now that I'm looking at them. I thought perhaps maybe Omax would be, yeah, Omax. Omax is just a little bit taller, and it's only just by the sculpting of the head there. If you look at them shoulder to shoulder. Seems like they're also using the same molds from one figure to the other. Omax does have a little bit of different tooling done to at least this top torso, but it looks like the arms, the lower mid-abdomen, and the lower legs, of course, are all using the same mold from one figure to the other. If Omax is your introduction to the world of Hexanoids, and maybe you didn't get the chance to see my review of Eunice, the backstory behind the Hexanoids is that you have Eunice and Omax, 2 longtime enemies that were responsible for building the beast boxes. I'm going to go ahead now and just bring the camera back a little bit and actually bring in one of the beast boxes right now. This is Phantomaster that was actually provided also from 52 Toys that we will be looking at in an upcoming review. These creatures, these robotic creatures, transform into actual cubes. You can see there on the side. But they actually built these creatures based on the designs that they saw originally on Earth, and they all live on a silicone planet in the universe. And again, like I did with Eunice, we're going to provide links down below where you can follow 52 Toys over on Instagram and Facebook, because eventually the company is going to be providing the story behind the Hexanoids over there. So definitely follow them if you get the chance. I'm going to move that out of the way and move on now to the accessories that come included with Omax here. First of which is a blaster. And if you happen to have a chance to have seen my other video, you probably will recognize this blaster as the one that also came included with Eunice. We're going to go and bring his in right now. The molds seem to be identical, sharing the same molds between the two. The colors are definitely different between the two. It also seems as if the gray that they've used for Omax's blaster is a slight lighter gray than the one we got with Eunice. The colors, though, are definitely done differently. Tipped on the end, instead of red, now you get the purple. Instead of the green, you get this really nice metallic blue. Love the look of that. This fits also in his hand the exact same way, with all the same hands, exactly the same as Eunice. The hands that come included with it, I've been lucky enough not to drop these yet. You get yourself a pair of closed fists, which is good. I prefer myself the next hands we're about to have a look at, as Omax also comes included with some gripping hands. Now, I like to mix things up a little bit, so in the case when we had a look at Eunice and still displaying him after that review, I like to display one of the figures usually with a open hand so I can hold the weapon, and then the other hand is usually like a gestured hand, or in this case, a relaxed hand. So you get 2 gripping hands to decide for yourself which side you want to have the blaster. Now, I did, with Eunice's review, do it on this side, so I think it would be fair to do it on the other side here for Omax. The other hand, by the way, is just a relaxed hand. And these are the hands that are stock with the figure when you first take them out of their plastic prisons. Go ahead and remove it. It's very easy to remove. And then we're going to go and just replace it then with the gripping hand. Plug that into place. And now that that's done, we can go ahead finally and take the blaster and fit it into Omax's hand. I like the look of that. Still, there isn't a place anywhere on the figure. I mentioned in Eunice's review that you can actually take the blaster and attach onto the figure. So it's always going to be the case where you only can display it in the figure's hands or just leave it off completely. For this, we're going to go ahead and just take this off and move the blaster out of the way. And we're going to reach off and just bring in Eunice so you guys can see. Now, there is a case here where they have used a lot of the same mold together. There is things that have been changed. Primarily, the biggest change outside of the obvious head is the top of the torso. See on this side right here, The orb, or little circular shape here, is actually on the left side of the screen, where Eunice's was actually on the right side. And instead of having now the fluorescent green that Eunice had, now we get is treated to this really nice metallic blue. I gotta say, I like the color scheme, I think, a little bit more for Omax. The design also seems a lot more cooler. Even though I really like the head sculpt on this one, there's something still about an eerily singular eye. Although it's not really a singular eye, really. It's one large eye, and then it seems like two smaller orbs just above it. Very similar to like a Brainiac design. As once again, they are using a translucent plastic instead of the green. Now we're getting a more ice blue. And that's not only on the top, covering over the front of the face, or what would have been the face here. Like, this head looks more robotic to me, at least. So I'm really interested to see what the story is going to play out here for the Hexanoid line. There's also still that translucent blue plastic that's also on the arms. It's also, again, stretched across the front of the torso. There's still these holes, though, on the side. I'm not really sure why those holes belong there. I don't know if you can actually see it, but not only is the hole actually in the plastic itself, that's the clear blue variety, but it also seems like the peg goes all the way through to the arm. Perhaps that could have been a case that they decided at some point, I don't know, maybe just to include another accessory, and they left it off. I just wondered, could you take a hand? No, it's not big enough. I thought for fun, could you actually take a peg from the hand, and would it be of the same size? No, it's just slightly smaller. But I wonder, though, why they actually put the pegs there. That could be maybe like something that they're planning to do down the road for the line. Really, really curious, though. For the legs, I'm going to bring this back in. The torso seems to be the same, as well as the lower legs. Color definitely does get done differently between the two figures. And again, I like really, first of all, the gray works a lot nicer, I think, with the Omax, because it's a lighter gray. The darker gray worked well with the red, the green, and the gray. But I got to say, the lighter gray works a lot nicer here with the purple and the blue. The legs, again, are the same. Even the lower legs and the knees seem identical. Instead of the silver, you get now, again, the treat of the purple. The purple works, again, well with the gray, and it works really well, again, with that ice metallic blue that they've used here as well. On the back, you can see the nice detail and designing that they've done to the actual molding of the figure. Really cool stuff going on here. Now, for the articulation here on the figure, one thing, again, I wanted to go back to and talk about is the plastic that they're using. It's not a very heavy plastic at all. It makes for a very light figure. Now, you also have to keep in mind, too, that the figure is 3 3/4 inches in size. If this was a larger figure, of course, the weight would also be increased as well. For the articulation, though, on Omax, the head is going to be working the same way as Eunice, as we looked at before. So the head is on a ball joint. Yeah, you can rotate it all the way around. And then there's a secondary ball joint at the base of the neck. So you can move it up, down, back and forth. There's a fair bit working just between those 2 points of articulation. Shoulders come out, and in the similar nature, you've got these little shoulder pads here actually that are on individual peg points. There's a peg on both the sides. Basically just clips over top of the existing shoulder of the arm. So when you are moving the arm, for example, I'm going to do it like that. When you move the arm out, you can see the shoulder pad stays out of the way. I always like when figures are able to do that with their designs. Arms rotate all the way around. There is a bicep swivel here as well. There's a hinge joint on the elbow, which also allows the elbow area to rotate. You can take as well the hands, rotate those all the way around. The upper torso is on a ball joint. The same thing, I don't want to say same problem. It's not a problem, but if you have the torso too low down, it rubs up against the sculpting that they've done to the abdomen. Eunice had that same issue. And if you bring the torso too far back, then it's prone to usually getting wedged inside the actual part that's its abdomen. So you sort of want to bring it up when you want to rotate it, but you just don't want to have it too high up, because sometimes, like I said, it gets wedged in there. Very small problem. The legs do hinge out. You can take the legs and move them forward. You can move them back. There's a swivel actually at the top of the thigh. I don't even know if I mentioned that here with Eunice's when we had a look at Eunice earlier, but it's a little thigh swivel simply just because this is a separate piece that's pegged in to the top joint of the thigh. The figure does have a double hinge on the knee. Again, it looks a little on the kind of gap side of things, but again, you're probably not going to have the knee that far bent anyways. And like we had looked at before with Eunice, not only is the ankle back and forth hinging this way, but you can also hinge the ankle this way also as well. Let's just get them all straightened out here. I keep referring to these as both hymns. We're going to go ahead and bring in Eunice. I almost feel like Eunice would probably be I guess they could possibly be both robots. I'm only just, again, going on a belief of what I think. All of this, of course, will be much more clarified when we actually get the full story of Hexanoid from 52 Toys. One thing also I did want to do, too, I didn't really get the chance to show you guys the packaging for these figures. Let's go ahead and bring those back in. I had a harder time actually cutting this one open. Eunice was easy. I simply peeled that off the cardboard. But I want to show you like the artwork on the cards. Definitely something I'm going to keep even after I've opened up the figures. And again, just to show you guys what it looks like on the back. It's got such a really neat design to it. Definitely going to hold on to these packages. But I really like the look of these. I mean, yes, even though technically Omax is sharing a lot of the same mold as what we got with Eunice, it would probably make some sense that they are probably designed the same anyways, and it is veered off slightly for the design when it comes to Omax. Again, we'll know more when the story actually gets posted. Of the two, though, I think I do like the color scheme and the design a little bit more for Omax. I kind of like the more menacing look of the larger eye and those little smaller orbs above it. Definitely works for a more imposing looking figure. Superposable. Again, more of the lighter plastic, but at least one thing that be said for it, if you're having them standing like this, as I've got going wrong right now, you're not going to have any real issues with the figures falling over. Just to kind of, if you put them on a stance, for example, that's sort of where they're a little bit more unstable. But in both the cases, the figures do have pegels on the undersides of his feet. So, if you have any issues with these figures falling, you certainly can just use a display stand, as it certainly does look to be the case that they're using universal pegs, and a display stand from any other company would work just fine to display both these figures in your collection. Even though 52 Toys may have shared a lot of the same mold between their two release figures, Eunice and the Omax we're looking at here, there's still enough different that you don't feel like you're getting a carbon copy from one figure to the next. Yes, they are sharing the same lower legs. Yes, they are sharing the abdomen. Yes, they are sharing the same arms. But at least Omax has a completely redesigned top torso and a much scarier looking head portrait. And it's probably one of the reasons why I think Omax makes for a much more interesting looking figure than the Eunice we looked at before, even though I really like the design of Eunice. The darker, more Decepticon color scheme is probably one of the more reasons why I think also Omax is the eviler of the two. I mean, not that I would want to just base it on just the figure color alone, but just the fact that Eunice has the more brighter colors of the red and the green, Omax has the more darker, just like I said, Decepticon purples and grays. I kind of feel like he's the more eviler of the two. But again, we'll know soon enough when eventually 52 Toys does post their story of Hexanoid, both again over on their Instagram and on their Facebook. Figures also, again, sharing the exact same accessories, the same blasted, same hands, but that's, again, fine. Not knowing the story and what's involved behind the scenes for Hexanoid, there's probably a reasoning why they are using the same weapons. So again, time will tell when eventually that story gets posted. The figures, again, once again, are using a lighter plastic. So even just to have the figure posed like I've got right now, spinning around the rotisserie, the figure I probably will be still investing on getting a display stand. I'm a little disappointed the fact that the figures didn't come include display stands anyways. But it's always something that I could probably just use a display stand from another figure line, because I would love to really have these figures, being the fact that they have so much posability working for them. I really would like to have them in a better display than having them just standing straight, kind of like what I've got going on right here. I think 52 Toys should have really included display stands with the figure, but it doesn't diminish at all how cool these figures actually look. As mentioned, these are actually going to be slated to release the fourth quarter of 2022. They're not available yet. But if, again, you guys are interested to grab these for yourself, you can check online, and many of the online sites currently have Omax and Eunice as pre-orders if you guys are interested. And once again, a big thank you to the folks over at 52 Toys that did provide this sample of Omax to go along with the Eunice that we looked at earlier. We are, yes, going to be still looking at the Beast box of Phantomaster. Is it Phantom Master or is it Phantomaster? Needless to say, we are going to be looking at the robotic chameleon in an upcoming video. If you enjoyed this video, want to hit it with a like. If you're loving the content that you guys are seeing and certainly want to stick around for more, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and turn on the bell notification. And yeah, come back, because while we have wrapped up the review for now, the second of the Hexanoid figures, the review of the Phantomaster Beast box will be right around the corner. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.